Hello, my name is Tammy Rainey Gathings. I am honored to be a part of this Black History Speakers Series. Thank you, first and foremost, to Black Speakers Network for considering me. Very honored to have this opportunity. I am a graduate of Mississippi State University. I have a bachelor's in English with a minor in history. I was the first girl in my family to graduate from college. And so I'm very cognizant of what that meant for people in my family who didn't even attend school or attended and didn't get a chance to graduate from high school. I'm an author, I'm an entrepreneur, and I am an advocate as well for many different causes. Today, I want to talk with you about my presentation entitled The Second Daughter of the Second Daughter. My mother is the second child of her mother, and I am the second child of my mother. And there's a myth that your second child is the one that has you pulling out your hair, that gets on your last good nerve, the troublemaker. And I embraced that. I embraced being a troublemaker. As John Lewis said, good trouble. But it didn't always seem so good in the beginning because I was unearthing as a child different truths about the society I lived in, myself, my family, the people that I loved, the people that I went to church with, and everything. And as I was uncovering these things, I was constantly being told, no, you shouldn't say that. Leave that alone. Don't mess with that. Okay? And it was especially coming from other Black women who had carved out their places in society as it was down here in Mississippi. And they were getting along just fine, they felt. So why question it? At least not out loud anyway. We don't talk about it unless we're in the sewing circle or out in the garden, or when the ladies came over to cook Sunday dinner. These weren't conversations, and these weren't things that were being told or said out loud. I consider myself a protector of the legacy of all the Black women who came before me. Some who felt like they had something to say, but weren't safe to say it. Who had questions, but were honestly afraid of the answers. Black women in America have sacrificed and suffered for family and culture their entire time in this country. What have they gained? And what do we as a society owe them? I come from a place where as late as 1980, Blacks were still having the word Negro placed on their birth certificates. To walk through life with that designation, and it's the 21st century now, there's something stinging about that. Also, during the time when I was born, if you were unmarried, you were not allowed, rather, to place the man's name on the birth certificate. That gave a woman a burden, so to speak, in her community, in her church. And that led to many women doing things that were counter to their own well-being, but as well, it hurt their children. We've seen it portrayed in books, in movies, and so many Black women recognize that hurt when they see it on the screen, on the page. But deep down inside, they'll never tell anybody. That's my story too. The things that we have seen, the things that we have endured as Black women in America make us vulnerable for a myriad of health problems. I could give you a laundry list of the different things that the women in my family face, the things that were also passed down to me. They had the knowledge of certain things, but even once it came down through generation, and they learned more about their conditions, they learned more about why they were having the ailments that they had and what could be done, sometimes they just didn't go through with it. Knowledge is power, but only if it's applied. So to know that certain diseases run in my family, especially with women, was one thing. But for those women to actually act on those things that they knew, to go see the right specialist, to take the right approach in advocating for themselves and their own health, that's historical. Because I look into other research, and I also have anecdotes from other Black women who said, my mother, my granny, my sister, my nana was just like your people, was just like the women in your family. And the thing is, as I said, we have the knowledge now. But unfortunately, we have generations of women alive today in the 21st century who still do not act on those things because of what we have said for so many years. If you get a hysterectomy, you can't get a man. If you go and try to see about yourself, they're going to take your kids. If you have to stay in the hospital too long, you're going to lose your house. Who's going to take care of you? Who's going to want you? And having those things historically drilled into women's head over and over and over again, Black women specifically, reinforces those bad choices, reinforces those fears. I know too many women personally, Black women in my life, who said, well, when the kids get out of school, when my husband gets a better job, I can go and see about myself. And many times before they could ever get to those arbitrary points, they die. And those things that they were fighting for, the things that they were sacrificing for, many times still don't come to pass. So we as Black women, we got to take what we know and we got to use it. We have to. Our survival depends upon it. And not just our own personal survival, but the survival of us as a people in America. When we know we got to go, we owe it to all the other sacrifices and to all the other servants that came before us. We got to put what we know into action to save ourselves.